Welcome to Origins and Outcomes. My name is Andrew Worcester. Today's book is Nick Hornby's How to Be Good. And to start off, kind of like what I said with Catcher in the Rye, where it was a book that I found myself connecting to something for the first time. What I've discovered since then is the books that I truly like are ones that have kind of an emotional current underneath. Something that makes me feel, something that makes me think, something that kind of takes me out of my normal world into a place where I have to kind of review my whole perception of things, and that really is the case with How to Be Good. It starts off as a story of a doctor who's in an unhappy marriage, and her strength in that is really knowing that she has the moral high ground until her husband has a spiritual awakening and becomes even better than she is, and she doesn't know how to handle this at all from a morality standpoint. And it's really fascinating because you connect initially with a woman, and then you see what happens to her husband, and you're not quite sure how to juxtapose it with your own morality as well. And it was something that I really, really struggled with when I first read it, and it really pushed me to kind of see other people's perceptions. For me, I had come across, I'd spent 12 years in Christian schools, and I had a very set of learned beliefs and learned behaviors and a very learned outlook of the world. And when I found myself getting out of high school and realizing that a lot of that just didn't make any sense to the world that I found myself living in. And so that really what kind of crafted my state at the time when I read this. And reading it and going through all the different, chapters and the different phases of the book as things kind of progressed, it really gave me a hard time. It was a book that I didn't want to read. I didn't want to finish. I would throw, first book I remember being so frustrated with, I had to throw across the room multiple times, but still always picking it up and going back to it and having to finish and having to see how this works out. Because as much as it challenged my thinking, it still compelled me to continue it. The way I discovered it actually was in a college class. We actually had a book assigned to us called How to Speak to an Angel, I believe it's called, which is a short story collection of Nick Hornby. He edited it, and he also has a short story in it. And I got to talk to the teacher about Nick Hornby because I had read about a boy a couple years back and really enjoyed that too. But she directed me to this, How to Be Good, because it was the newest book of him out. So that got me, I went to Barnes & Noble and I picked it up and read it. And then that had that experience where I just loved it. I hated it. I didn't understand it. It confused me. It angered me. Went through all the spectrum of emotions, but it always made me feel something. It always made me search within myself to understand more. Maybe that's because it was entertaining and it was funny. Maybe that's just Hornby's way of writing. Always makes you, it pulls you to push you closer later on. So it pulls you away and then it pushes you closer as he's trying to tell the story. And it really made me understand, or at least always want to go to different people's point of views from there and really appreciate books that gave you that perspective as well. And not just, and it really kind of destroyed me from even some books that people think are, oh, this is so well written. Well, if it doesn't make you feel, if it's mechanical, the writing or the plot, then that's not going to do anything for me. That's not going to be enjoyable for me. I mean, I guess why some people like, romance novels or mystery novels exclusively. If the book isn't going to have some emotion in it, then I don't want cardboard. And this kind of really defined my taste in literature and in books in general, that it has to have some emotion in it. And how I write too. I want to make you feel something by reading it. And this was certainly the beginning of it, and it tortured me and it twisted me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Going through this is something I'm going to read multiple times again. It's every couple of years I go back to it because of that and because of how it obviously it changes. I read that when I was 19, so to read it now, it's going to have a total different effect on me, just because that was the starting point of me having certain, open-mindedness and having certain ways of having my own opinion, but never closing off to other people's interpretations and looking for how they view things too. As someone who said, if someone thinks the sky is orange and it's blue, it's not going to help anything to say, oh, look, the sky is blue. What are you talking about? It's not orange. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's not going to help you relate to them or be likable to them or be able to interact with them. That's only going to hurt everything. And that's kind of that's simplified in a way of what the book is about and how it kind of made me feel. But that kind of breaks it down as well, as everyone looks at things differently and we can't judge them. We have to understand them because we all have to work together. And this is the first book that kind of taught me that and brought me outside of myself. So even to this day, it's kind of what I always look back to and reference when I have conversations like this as the book that really, for the first time, made me look at someone else's opinions and other people's point of views, and even as strongly held beliefs as I had, I would be able to have that way of at least attempting to understand and asking the right questions to kind of feel them out and see where they're coming from as well. Even if I didn't agree with it at the end of the day, I would still have that conversation and I wouldn't just be closed off. And Nick Hornby's How to Be Good is what started that for me.